of issues, and I'm talking really legal issues, that can keep it from happening. Drug use, some of those things that can keep it from happening. So really you gotta think ahead of time about what your goals are. But there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of great training, and I think if you think about joining the Navy or any other branch of the military, you gotta try to learn a little bit about the branch and about the culture, because every one of them is different. So.
Thanks to that, Esther. What about medical issues and people that wear glasses?
Well, glasses, I wear glasses. I just have contacts. Medical, it's medical. It just depends. Certainly, people have different issues when they come in. It's got to be something that you have to go through a physical. Depending on what your medical issues are, they get vetted through a process. I mean, a lot of people have issues, from their childhood. I mean, I had asthma as a kid, allergies, stuff like that, but I was able to still get in. Serious medical conditions, probably not. But doctors that check in, and a full medical people that will review any issues you have and decide whether it's okay or not. That's a vague answer, but that's about, I can't. And I say that even in recruiting, that's something I don't deal with. We have to keep that separate. And medical issues, we can put it to them, but they make all those decisions. So just because you have a medical issue in the past certainly doesn't mean you can't join the military necessarily. So.
I'm gonna definitely check around. Is there a height limit that?
You said a
Height limit?
on the short side, I'm assuming. There is. I'm trying to think what it is. I think you're okay. There are weight. I mean, another thing is we have body composition standards on the high side and the low side, so you can be overweight or underweight as well. So there are, but I think it's.
Have you ever fought in a war?
Yes. I was on Iraqi Freedom started indirectly, I guess. Iraqi Freedom started. I was on the aircraft carrier. We launched the first airstrikes in Iraq. I was on the USS Harry S. Truman. We were sitting in the Mediterranean when that war started, and the first aircraft that went into Iraq were off of us. We launched airstrikes almost around the clock for about the first 30 days, and into that conflict. I've also done a lot of boarding operations, boarding other ships, looking for terrorists, looking for illegal arms, drugs, things like that. Most of that was in the Persian Gulf, off the coast of Iraq, Iran, in that area. Some of that was 16 years ago. Some of it was more like 5 or 6 years ago. Kind of funny, how the world changes over that time frame, but do a lot of the same stuff. So I've never been shot at directly. But that's one thing about the Navy. It doesn't happen near as much as, say, the Army or whatever. I know you're going to get started, so I'm sure they'll ask questions all day. So.
Good. My name is Cadet Tyree, and I was wondering, have you ever came in contact with pirates?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people think of pirates, right? Jack Sparrow, right? All that good stuff. Not your modern. How many people have seen that movie, the Tom Hanks movie, right?
Say Captain something.
Yeah, Captain Phillips, right? Obviously that's based on a true story, right? And that's a very real problem that we deal with, and I've dealt with that directly, both on the ship and kind of on a staff coordinating a lot of the stuff that those operations are going on like that with ships out in that exact same area. I've been to that exact same area. I've seen those boats never been, you know, one thing being on a military ship, they don't mess with you. They're going the other way. But no, it's a very real problem out there. And now what most of those ships do now, those big merchants, is they've got their own security force on board. A lot of guys that are ex-SEALs or ex-Marines or whatever, they weren't really doing that back then. But now a lot of those ships that go through there have got their own security force that are armed. So it's cut down quite a bit. It costs the companies money because they're private. They pay them, you know. But it's really cut down, especially with U.S. ships and the countries that use them. It's really cut down the pirate attacks because the ships shoot back. Because you notice in that movie, they didn't really have guns. All they use is fire hoses and stuff like that. Now you got these contract guys that shoot back that are highly trained. So, you know, it's a little harder when machine guns are coming back at you. But
I had another question.
sure.
What is the training like for Navy SEALs?
Hard. It is probably the most physically and mentally demanding thing that you could possibly imagine. The standard to even get to go to BUDS, to go through SEAL training, is very high. Right? We're very selective as to who can even go through BUDS, and still out of that, about 2/3 of the people fail out. It's extremely, and it's probably more mentally demanding than physically. I mean, you've got to want it very, very bad, or you won't make it.
My name is Cadet Sims. Can you describe your first experience on a aircraft carrier?
First experience on an aircraft carrier?
Yeah.
The first aircraft carrier was actually being built, so I was in the shipyard, spent a lot of time in the construction process. Aircraft carrier is a little different than other ships because it's so big. It's a lot of people. I mean, the ship's company is 3,000 people or so. Disadvantages of that, I mean, it's a lot more space. Aircraft carriers are a little more stable. You know, they don't move around as much as you get seasick. Usually not as big of a problem. They go 24/7. I mean, the ship is always going. I mean, they're serving food probably 23 hours a day. I mean, there's always people up and working because it's so big and it's nonstop. But it's also, you know, so many people that you know, you can go 3 years on an aircraft carrier and there's people you'll never see the whole 3 years. You won't get to know them, you know, it's that way as well. So it's you know, it was good. I enjoy smaller ships more because you get to know everybody. It's a lot closer, but it's good. No. It's the same food. As a matter of fact, probably if there's anybody that gets like better stuff, it's usually the Chief's mess. To be honest, but no, it's the same. It's better. Back years ago, when I first came in, they would actually kind of use the food separate, and the officers kind of paid usually still the same food, but they would pay for it separately and order it separately and even make it sort of separately. These days, it's too expensive to do that. It all gets made the same thing, the same way. It's good though. It's pretty good. I'll say most ships and especially the big ship. I mean, now this is not good for you, but there's always a lot of the fast type stuff too. I mean, I told you could eat on a carrier 22 hours a day. You could probably eat a pizza every single one of those meals if you want. That's not going to be good for you in the long haul, but you can do it. So it's chicken nuggets or something like that. All right. Yep.
How was the training for the Army?
It's a challenge. I mean, having not gone basic training, don't know a lot about it. I think everything has changed a little bit. I would say it's gotten easier, but it's probably gotten more reasonable, probably more mental. I mean, it's still physically hard, but it's a lot more well thought out. I mean, I think our training has changed a lot in the last 20 years. Is, we used to do stuff because that's the way we always did stuff. I think we're a lot smarter about the way we train to make sure people aren't getting hurt. If it's important, we'll do it, but if we just did it because we always did it, I think a lot of that stuff has gone away. Now, the Army obviously focuses more on weapons training, using a firearm. You get that in the Navy, but not like the Army or the Marines. A lot more of that. But, you get a lot of weapons training in the Navy. I mean, I've been in 20 years, and I mean, I've qualified on a 9mm M16, 50 cal machine gun, grenade launcher, I mean, all that stuff. I mean, I've done that even as an officer. So, because you got to have all that stuff on ships for protection as well. Not to mention,
You're not in the way.
big missiles and, cool stuff like that. So, but, I think that's a real good answer.
Hey, bro.
Marine training, basic training at the end, last week we were 20 miles.
I have no idea. I doubt it. I doubt you're in 20. But it's just 20 miles.
My name is Janelle Lewis, and I want to know how I'm going as an officer. When do I have to retire?
Retirement is 20 years for anybody, officer or enlisted, and that's really in any branch of the military right now. Now, with all the branches, there's different rules as to how many times you have to get promoted to get to 20 years. So what all the military is, what you call an up or out organization. So, I mean, you've got to continue to do well and perform and get promoted, because if you don't get promoted to a certain level, then we will ask you to leave before that 20 years is up. So like enlisted, you got to get in the Navy, you got to make E6 to get to 20. And actually, as an E6, you can't go past 20. You can go 20 years and that's it. You can't go to 21. So as an E5, you can't go to 20. We're gonna basically kick you out at 14, I think, right now. As an officer, as a lieutenant commander, you can go to 20. As a commander, I can go to 28. That's how far they would let me go. If I made captain, then I could go to 30. That's how long they would let me. Law will prevent you from staying longer. So. What's that? Right now, no. But I think that's going to change. They change fairly soon. So. Okay, I just don't know what. Well, I went to a similar, it's an officer candidate school is what I went to. It was hard. Actually, Navy officer candidate school was run by the Marines. So I had a Marine drill instructor and all that stuff that, gave me good love every morning. I don't know, I'd like to say it's probably not as hard now as it was then. We didn't run 20 miles at the end, but we probably were going out. I think we're together, we go out and run, 9 or 10. Yeah, during that, so, I mean, again, it's only 10 miles, right? It was a challenge. I don't think it's as hard anymore, or as hard as it was then. Every service does it a little bit different, but it's short. And it's hard at the time, but it serves a purpose. But all the basic trainings are just an entry into the military. That's not really what the rest of the military is. I mean, it lays a foundation, but that's not what the military is like. They teach you that piece, they got to teach the basics and give you that discipline structure, but it's over and moving on. So, okay, I think we need to get to the brief. If you got individual stuff, maybe you can catch up with me after this. So,
Yeah, you can.
here we go.